Right, welcome to How to Repair, if anyone can hear us. This is one of my first streams that I've ever done on a remote location and live. So you'll have to bear with us with regards making sure things like the audio are working. Also, I would like someone, if they're watching, to just tell me the sound is working correctly. It might take a few minutes. We do get some latency, but the test stream we did the other day with the mobile phone turned out absolutely brilliant. And I'm in a stunning location. We've been hit with a sandstorm for the last 3-4 days, but today it cleared, and I did look at the weather forecast to decide whether I could do a live stream or not. To try and help out and clear some of the backlog of all the questions that keep coming in while I'm driving. We are doing our best to keep up with all the questions, and as you can see during the stream, you might see my hands flying everywhere. There's a few flies about when the wind calms down, shall we say, but it is an absolutely stunning location, and I've managed to perch myself in the shade because it's quite cool today compared. It's somewhere in the region of about 30-35 degrees. Peak of the day, it can go a lot hotter. So excuse me on the water, it's too early for beer. Can anyone tell me and just verify that the sound is working? Someone in the chat, please, I would be grateful. I've got two monitors here. I've also got, I can flick onto a different camera angle. I can also give you a scout around. The desert is absolutely stunning, and I'll just flick you to where my twin tub is. I've got some washing to do, and it's already in there soaking at the moment. And then, of course, you've got the desert out there. But the absolute beauty and silence of this is incredible. No one has actually turned round to me yet and said if the sound is working. I can see a few people live. It would be beneficial if someone could check. I have Burkeye with me, and he is in the van. I'm just going to ask him if the sound is working. Yep, the sound is all working. So if you've got any questions with regards repairs on appliances or anything, I would love to see them in the chat. I did put a note on all these live streams that I do in the future. I would like you to send us the information on your make and model before the show. The reason I need this, because it takes me quite a while to go and dig out the workshop manuals online, and it also takes me a while to get wiring diagrams and any other technical information that I need. So it would be helpful. Now I'm going to try and do a few of these every week for you to try and keep up with the backlog of questions that are coming in through the website. The new website is under construction at the moment, and we are stocking it with new and second-hand parts because, as you most probably all know from the videos I've done in the past, I'm against this built-in obsolescence that's taking place in the industry that I've been in for over 45 years. And there is too many manufacturers, and typical, just when you're live streaming, a hoolie blows up. So excuse me if I have to go into a panic mode or anything, because the wind suddenly, you couldn't write a script like this. It's been still all day, and now suddenly the wind is absolutely blowing like heck. So I might have to jump out of the seat. Zash, I think I pronounced that correctly. Thanks very much for telling me the sound's working correctly. Sounds all good. Thank you, Jayon. If you've got any questions with regards to your appliances, I'll just stick the camera while I'm waiting for some questions to come through onto tracking mode, because I do have the facility of this. So just bear with me 1 second. Normalize tracking. I think I'm on the correct camera, and I'll just take you for a quick walk around. And excuse me 1 second, I've got to get my hat. My hat just blew into the distance. So let me just make sure, yeah, that's on tracking. The sun here is absolutely scorching. Now, I'll explain where I am exactly. I'm on the top end of the Sahara Desert. Over the last 6 months, I've been to the Berlin trade show. Then I visited ASWO in Hanover. The company director there was very kind to take me around the factory to give me a tour. He also let me visit his Paris depot as well, which was really one of the state-of-the-art warehouses I've ever been in. Fully automated systems, and it was absolutely a great day in Paris. Then I came down through Europe, came down through Spain, spent a couple of months on the mountains. Then I went to visit Gotak in Barcelona, and I was spoilt rotten there by the director of the company, Daniel, and he took us for a tour of his whole factory, and you can see that in another video. But if we just walk out here, Algeria is approximately, oh, the camera lost me, my apologies. I just saw it lose me, it's gone up to the sky, bear with me 1 second. Auto tracking cameras sometimes can have hiccups, and you've got to remember, let me just go to preset 1. This is my first time trying to do this with the camera tracking. So as I was saying, 10 kilometers in that direction is the Algerian border. This is the top end of the Sahara Desert. I've already been down into the Western Sahara, which was spectacular, but very, very barren. I can't emphasize how barren it is, but the coastline was stunning. And we actually had the luck of finding a place called Nifis National Park, Nailsy Lagoon, and it was stunning. And there's a video on that you can find in the playlist on Morocco. We've got an old fortress which I haven't been able to find too much history on yet, but I have been told it's over 700-800 years old. And what gets me with all these fortresses that I've visited, they're made of mud brick and they're still standing. I mean, there is no rain here. It rains very, very rarely in this part of the world. I've been over 20 or 30 different rivers. The only thing that was lacking was water. But anyway, that's the location I'm in. I'm about, as a matter of fact, I'll give you a screen share. I should be able to do this. Let's just hope this wind stays down a little. And if I flick over onto the main shared screen, right, and change from that to that. So we went over to Berlin, then we came down to Paris, then we came down and spent some time in the Cambrian Mountains, went across to Barcelona, visited Gotak, then I came down through the mountain range here and then crossed over to Faro in Portugal, where I used to have a shop. Then basically I went home for Christmas, made some videos on heat pump tumble dryers and other machines. Also spent some time with my mother, who's now in a nursing home, and I'm trying to fly back when I can to visit her. And then I came down, and just bear with me 1 second, let me zoom in. Then we came down to Cadiz, down in to Tarifa, and caught a ferry across to Tangier Med, which is approximately here. And then over the last 3 to 4 weeks, I've been driving down the coast. The top half of Morocco has got problems with litter. You know, this is Africa. Plastic is not being removed properly. It's horrid to see, but once I came down below Casablanca, the scenery changed completely. The Casablanca all the way down to Agadir is absolutely stunning, and I can't recommend it enough as a holiday destination. And then I built up the guts to cross over into the Western Sahara, which is a disputed zone at the moment, but the Moroccan authorities do look after you very, very well, and they make sure that you're always tracked and kept secure. Then we visited a place, where am I? I've got to find it a second. Have I gone down too far? Just bear with me. Let me turn this to map so I can see where I am. Yeah, Agadir. Then I came down all the way down here to the closest point to the Canary Islands. I actually had a chat with a friend who was actually on holiday in the Canaries while I was here. And then we came down, this line here is basically everything below this is disputed. We came down to Leona, and then I came down to a place called Samara, which was a lovely place. And I wanted to take this road back up towards Asha, but the military stopped us and they said this area was just unsafe for tourists, so they advised us to go back around up to Tantan. And then I followed this riverbed all the way across until we came to this location. And basically I am at a place called Camp Jamil, and I don't even think it shows up on this map. I can't see it, but it is right on the edge. And if I turn this to satellite, you can actually see just outside of the village here is all the Sahara. Anyway, that's where we've been for the last few months. Been dealing with customers' questions along the way, creating FAQs, also making the odd video on appliances, also done some travel videos with regards good places that I found to stay to help other people out. But what we haven't been able to do is keep up with all the customers' questions, and that's what this show is going to be about. I think it's far easier and quicker now for me to live stream than to constantly, how can I say this, try to send individual customers emails. So if I do a show once or twice a week, this is going to help people out no end. Anyway, so let's go back to the chat and see if I can bring up some questions. Jeron, sounds all good, thank you very much. You have an LG washing machine without a hall sensor. How do we diagnose the problem? Now, when you say you have a washing machine without a hall sensor, are you meaning that you have a washing machine that has a standard motor and carbon brushes? Or have you got a direct drive motor or an inverter motor? It would be useful if you could actually give us the model number for this machine, and then I can have a look at it. So I'm going to be here for an hour or so. I've got plenty of water with me, which I'm going to need. And as long as this wind doesn't turn into a Sahara blow, where I've got to suddenly rip everything in, we'll touch wood. Hopefully we can stay on here for an hour or so. Say no to the Great Reset. Is Bosch any good nowadays? Well, great question. And how do I answer this diplomatically? Bosch still make, with the modern machines that they're making today, reasonable product. Their accountants are running the company. Now, you don't realize how much these companies are worth. Bosch, Neff, Siemens, and maybe another 15 to 20 different brand names are all the same company throughout Europe. Bosch was one of the first companies that decided to bring in sealed drums, meaning that you are no longer able to split the drum to replace the bearings. Now that's an important factor when you're in a country like this, because not everyone has the financial capability of replacing machines willy-nilly just because of the bearings or the spider. They do have local tradesmen that can spend 4 or 5 hours rebuilding a machine, and it will not cost a fortune because the cost of living here is so much different to Western Europe. When it comes to us being Western Europeans, yes, we can go out and buy a new washing machine, but why should we every 4 or 5 years? Now, when you're looking at Bosch, Neff, Siemens and all their other brands, one of the biggest problems that you've got with these companies is their cost of spare parts. Now, I actually, at Christmas time, a friend of mine, Roger, who had a rented house, brought a washing machine into us to, basically, it wasn't drying efficiently. And I did make a video on that, washer dryer not working correctly. And what had gone was the individual low pressure water valve that trickles water down to the condenser. This water valve was open circuit and needed replacing. Now Bosch don't sell the individual solenoids, and really speaking, nor do any other companies either. But the cost of this washer dryer water valve was over £75 if I remember correctly. Now the same type of water valve from, let's say, a company like Beko or Hotpoint was only £25. But I can promise you one thing, these water valves are built by the same manufacturer, whether it's Hotpoint, whether it's blooming Bosch. They're built by the same. So how can the company warrant charging 3 times the price of another same component off a different machine? Because it's got different mountings and different terminal connections, you're not able to easily replace it. So I hope that answers your question. I'm not happy with any of the manufacturers nowadays, and this is why I'm becoming a lot more vocal than I have ever been. I'm not making any friends in this industry because I'm starting to tell the truth, because I don't believe you, the consumers, should be ripped off to this level. I mean, if we look at our, I'm 58 years of age, and I look at my mother when she had a twin tub. Hoover twin tub was her first machine, and I was lucky enough to meet Ted Durrell, who was a Hoover engineer when I was about 9 years old. And I used to go out helping him repair during the school holidays. So I learned a lot about appliances from the age of about 9 years of age. The industry, we need to buy a machine. Not only should it last 5 years automatically, but we should have the right to repair. And it doesn't matter what we buy. I've got a twin tub here, which is a Chinese twin tub. It costs £100. Yes, it's a plastic pile of rubbish, but it will last 3 or 4 years. I haven't gone in depth yet looking at all the components inside, but looking at the build quality of it, it's plastic. But it washed the clothes very well. I was highly impressed with it, and that's going to be a video coming up shortly. We're just actually, I'll give you a sneak preview. I've got some camels booked tomorrow to come across the desert delivering the washing machine to me, but that's all in the next video. Anyway, let's deal with some more of these questions. I hope I answered that one for you. Direct drive. Yeah, Jaron, I do need your model number, mate. So if it's a direct drive and it doesn't have a hall sensor, the hall sensor is normally built into the circuit board, I believe. But without actually having the full model number, I can't be 100, well, I can be 90% positive that the hall sensor is now built into the new PCBs. Excuse me, coughing. I have a Beko Blomberg Flavel Leona Leisure cooker. Huh? That's 4 different, right, okay. It's blowing cold air instead of heating. What could be the problem? Well, if you're on the fan oven setting, that will most probably be the fan oven element. But some, looking at your name, you might not be from the UK, so you haven't said where you're from. If you've got some of the Beko ovens have a fan oven element and some don't, but they still have a fan motor. You normally have a grill element, a base element and a fan oven element. But I do know in some countries they only fit a grill element and a base element and the oven is fan assisted. So what you need to do is, using a multimeter, basically disconnect the cooker from the power supply, take off the connections to each individual element and do an ohms reading. By doing an ohms reading instead of a continuity reading, you're going to be able to use the Ohm's law calculator to calculate the wattage of the element. You can see all about how to use Ohm's law. I'm sure I've done a video somewhere on it, but basically you should have continuity on each of the elements, and if you use Ohm's law you'll then be able to measure what the resistance is and then be able to put that in to an Ohm's law calculator. There's a very good one online and it's actually called Ohm's law calculator. Put your voltage in of what the element is rated at and you'll be able to work out what the wattage is of each individual element. If any of the elements are open circuit, then that is your problem. If the oven is still not heating, then you may have a problem with either the selector switch or possibly the thermostat. But do remember, if you do have a timer on the cooker, the timer needs to be set to manual if it's a digital timer. If it's a mechanical timer, one that counts down for 5-6 minutes or 10-20 minutes, then you need to check that as well, making sure that the power is able to get through to the thermostat and the element. I hope that answers your question. Right, next one, Samsung WM90T 684 DLN, auto dispenser not working. I haven't got the wiring diagram. Samsung's another company that is not very good at supplying technical data. They keep all their technical data to their own engineers, and this is another reason I'm up in arms with all the manufacturers. They are not supplying the general public the information they need, or a lot of engineers the information that we need to be able to repair machines properly. But if the auto dispenser is not working, you need to work out what the voltage is of the auto dispenser, and then you'll be able to do some tests mechanically on it. You may have either a sensor problem, or you may have a power problem coming from the circuit board, or it is possible that the auto dispensing unit itself may have failed. But I will have a look at that for you later. If you do go to the website and use the contact us page, put your full model number in even there, and I'll see what information I can find for you. Right, Jamil's dropped a link in for some spares to that machine for you. You'll have to excuse me getting close to the screen. I'm old and blind, although these glasses are for long sight. I've tried to set everything else up today so I can see that the show's going out live with no problems. I've got Berkay in the van, who's my editor, and he's from Turkey. He helps me put all these films together, and in exchange I'm teaching him how to repair appliances as well, so he'll be a good Turkish engineer in a few years. But he is far better at this techie stuff than me. Okay, so the next one. Hi from Turkey. My mother has a Beko. Let me grab that model number a second and just see what this is. Condenser dryer. She told me that she can hear a buzzing sound. I've checked the dryer, the drum is not turning. Well, that's pretty straightforward. I don't need to look this up. Now, if you need parts, I'm sure either Jamil or Berkay will put a link into the model number that you've got. We don't ship parts to Turkey at the moment. We are doing something in Turkey in the next 12 months or so, but that'll be at a later stage. But with regards to your fault, First thing you need to do is take the lid off the top of the machine and establish that the belt is firmly on the drum. If the belt is firmly on the drum and you're hearing a buzzing noise coming from the bottom right hand side of the machine, then I suspect that the capacitor has gone, and it's the capacitor that will need replacing. Now your capacitor let me just put this model number in so I can quickly see. Just bear with me 1 second. Right, I'm pretty sure that the front panel on this machine comes off. That means you've got to take the lid off. You have got to remove the facial panel. There's usually some clips at the bottom and a couple of screws holding it onto the chassis at the top. Then you'll need to remove the front metal panel. Be careful when taking that away. You are going to need to undo the screws on the door lock or detach the wiring. But once you've got access to the I'll actually see if I can find you the workshop manual and post it on the website as well for you. So if you have a look in a day or so, I might have found you the workshop manual for this machine. But once you look at the capacitor, on the side of the capacitor you will see a number written on it, and it will be something like either 7UF or 10UF or another number and then followed by UF. UF stands for microfarad, and that will tell you the size. You only need to make sure that you purchase a capacitor with the same amount of terminals that you've got. A pattern part will be perfectly good and save you a load of money as well. You've most probably got many electrical suppliers in Turkey, and if you're in a city you'll have no problem getting the right size of the capacitor. Hope that answers your question. Sebastian, I have an Indesit vented tumble dryer. I've checked the heater and it seems to be working. As there is continuity across the element, what else could be causing the problem? Right, you've got a vented tumble dryer, so you haven't given us the model number again. I do require model numbers, please, everyone. But normally on most of the Indesit and Hotpoint tumble dryers, you've got a cut-out thermostat on the top of the heater. This thermostat is a one-shot thermostat, so you need to take the two wires off and do a continuity test across it. You should have a circuit. When it comes to the thermostats that are on there, they have changed over from mechanical thermostats to NTC sensors now. So you will need to basically, if it's an NTC sensor, make sure it's operating within the value range. Again, this is another occurrence of built-in obsolescence by the manufacturers. They will not give you the Hotpoint Indesit or before Beko took them over. Now, the good news is Beko has taken over Hotpoint Indesit and Whirlpool in Europe. This means that we may get better technical data in the future. Because Beko have been very good over the last 4 or 5 years at supplying the technical information you need to repair machines, and in their workshop manuals it does say if it's an NTC sensor that needs testing, then you're able to basically at a certain room temperature you'll know the value of ohms reading at a certain temperature, and then you'll be able to warm it up to test it's operating correctly. Anyway, on the vented tumble dryers, you usually either got a mechanical or an NTC sensor next to the cutout thermostat, and at the front of the machine, hidden right at the front, there is either a secondary thermostat, which is a cycling thermostat. It may be mechanical or it may be another NTC sensor. But if they're mechanical thermostats, you should have a circuit across them. If they're NTC sensors, they need to be operating in the correct range, because this is what transmits the temperature data to the circuit board, so that the relays on the circuit board that can then send the correct power to the actual heating element. I hope I've guided you in the right direction on that one. Thanks very much for the question, Sebastian. Boz, where are all these people coming from? I'd love to know where you're all from. It's not my normal English crowd. What can cause the problem? What should I do? thanks a lot for your response. You've already sent another question in, so I need to see Boz from Turkey. Oh, right, I've already answered that. Okay. Boz, by the way, I will put the workshop manual, once we've been able to find it, up on a web page for you. Just have a search on the website, put your model number in, and once I've actually produced the page, it should be on there for you. Jaden Branch, I recently watched your video on heat pump tumble dryers. Could you explain the temperature difference inside the filter box that you mentioned? Right, I think I know what you mean. Let me just get a slug of water. It's been attacked by flies, and I'm in a shady spot at the moment, so the sun's going that way, so I should be okay. And as soon as that sun goes over that yard arm, that's going away and a beer's coming out. So when it comes to the heat pump tumble dryers, now heat pump tumble dryers I'm not actually all for yet. The technology is brilliant, but the reliability of the machines is not that good, especially on the cheaper end brands. Now you've got to remember, heat pump tumble dryers you can buy for as little as £350 to £400 now. The more expensive ones, like the Bosch, the Miele, are much more expensive. Now heat pump tumble dryers, when you consider to create a dehumidifying process, the evaporator and the condenser needs to be a certain size for it to work well. Now in America, the machines are much bigger machines, therefore they are able to put good systems in with good filtration. But our European manufacturers are somehow trying to squeeze a Ferrari engine into a mini chassis. It can't be done, but they keep on doing it. And the governing bodies that are basically saying now that heat pump tumble dryers are going to be the way forward, and they're abolishing vented and getting rid of condenser or phasing them out, is ludicrous. Until technology works efficiently, we should not change. It's only working in the benefit of the manufacturers, and they are being greenwashed by they're greenwashing, sorry, the governing bodies. Excuse me, just had a pile of dust blown my way. So what I would expect to always see is after 10 to 15 minutes of a heat pump tumble dryer working, the evaporator at the front, where the air goes down through the door into the actual evaporator area, should be cool. As it goes through the evaporator, it then runs over the condenser and the air is reheated to come back into the machine. So as you saw in that video, I had two temperature probes, one at the front on the evaporator measuring the temperature of the air cooling, and one on the air intake to the back of the drum. And I would always want to see somewhere in the region of 15 degrees differential after 15 to 20 minutes. It will vary on a couple of factors. One, the room temperature that the machine is in, and this is another reason why heat pump tumble dryers is another madness thing in the UK, is because a lot of people keep their tumble dryers in the garage, which isn't heated. And in the winter, when you need to dry the clothes, that garage is 4 or 5 degrees. And a heat pump tumble dryer is just not going to work efficiently in that temperature. So I don't know who brainwashed the governing bodies with that one. But you would normally see a differential of 15 degrees. If the machine is running for an hour, if the machine is working really efficiently, it may even go up to 20 degrees. And I wish the wind would come back because these bloody flies are killing me. Okay, I hope that answered your question. Where am I? Recently watched your video on heat pump. No, done that one. You have a Hisense washer dryer. Let me just copy this model number. Now I can get some Hisense information occasionally. Where the dryer cycle does not work. Dryer cycle does not work and bring up an error code. Check the dryer housing and found burnt fluff near the heating element. Well, there could be many things wrong with this, and we need to establish that firstly you'll have a heating element or maybe even a dual heating element on these Hisense washer dryers. You need to make sure you do an ohms reading on this element. The element should be coming on when it goes on to a drying cycle within 10 minutes of the machine starting. Well, no, 5 minutes really, and the fan motor should also come on. This blows the air from the drum across the heating element to go in down on the door seal. There's usually a couple of thermostats and maybe even NTC sensor at the top of the machine. I haven't got the exploded diagram in front of me at the moment, but firstly, and you will also have I just want to make sure it's not a heat pump tumble dryer and you're asking this question from somewhere else in the world, so just bear with me. No, this looks like it's a European made machine, and I got a funny feeling that you're from Spain. So let me go into this. Firstly, you should have a small trickle of water going down on the condenser at the back. You should have the fan motor running and the heating element should be on. Now, if the heating element is in good condition and it's not on, it's either a problem with one of the sensors or it could be a problem with the circuit board. But without having the wiring diagram up in front of me, it is very hard for me to actually point you completely in the right direction. But I did do a washer dryer video on how they work, which will assist you. And if someone in the chat can put that video in. Berkay, could you add the washer dryer, how the washer dryers work in the chat, please? And it's for a gentleman called S. That's a simple one. You must have been one of the first people on YouTube to have just an S. Okay, someone's added a link. Jamil has put something, that's right, okay. I'm just catching up, just bear with me. Green Cross Fixes, Birmingham, UK. Glad to hear it, mate. Hope business is doing well. No issues at the moment, only the weather. Obviously, no, you see, now when I finish the washing here, where are you? Yeah, so when I finish the washing out of the twin tub, it'll go on the line. 25 minutes, totally dry, 0 cost. But in Wales, yeah, I could leave the washing on the line for 2 weeks and it'll never dry. Let me just go through these. Layla, electricity tripped while I was cooking. Over the weekend, I managed to reset the breaker and everything is working on the cooker except for the oven. None of the controls seem to be working. Again, Layla, I do need your model number. The reason being is we have 2 types of cooker that are on the market nowadays in Europe. One is a mechanical selector switch, which is a much better system than the new type ones, which are using circuit boards. Now, if you've got no controls coming on at all, you may have, if it's a mechanical cooker with a digital timer, you may have a problem with the timer not being on manual. So you need to check that, make sure it's on manual. But if it tripped the electricity, then I suspect an element caused this. And you will need to test which element has gone either open circuit or has gone to earth. Now, the problem being is most people do not have the capability to test elements for going to earth. This is because they don't have the right test equipment. You can't just test it with a multimeter. You do need a mega or insulation tester to be able to test elements. But there is a bit of a hack that you can do. Excuse me. Basically, if an element is tripping the electricity, If you disconnected that element, turn the power off on the cooker, then disconnect each individual element one at a time, making sure that the electrical terminals are safe. In other words, put some insulation tape on them, make sure that they're not going to earth or touching the chassis. Then reconnect the cooker and try cooking again. If it doesn't trip, then that's the element that's faulty. If it continues tripping, then it may be another element that's causing the problem. But of course, I can't go into much more detail on your cooker because you haven't given me the model number. But do chuck it in the chat further down, and I will try and work through these one at a time. I've done Green Cross. Right. Abdullah, I think I pronounced that correctly. I have a Beko washing machine, WMY91430S, S for silver, and that isn't emptying. I've checked the pump, found the filter clean. I think I can hear the pump running, but there is still no water. There's still water in the drum. I'm in the UK. Okay, got a couple of things it may be. Firstly, manually drain down the machine. You can do this in two ways. Get yourself a very shallow tray, open up the pump filter, and just carefully, don't take it out all the way, otherwise you'll have a ton of water on the floor. Just open it up so it's water's trickling out, and then when the tray's full, screw it back in again, then empty the tray. Continue doing that until the machine's empty. Once the machine's empty, you need to take the filter completely out and have a look around the impeller, just in case there's any elastic bands or anything wrapped around the impeller. But you are saying you can hear the motor running. The most common fault that a lot of people throw machines away for is they don't check the sump hose. Now, the sump hose is the hose that attaches to the pump and it goes all the way to the bottom of the drum. Sometimes in these sump hoses you even have a plastic ball that's in there, and this can end up with something like a baby sock or something like a handkerchief. A small item of clothing can get down into this pipe and cause a problem. You also, while you've got the sump hose off, tilt the machine right back, get a torch and have a look up in the drum. You should be able to clearly see the drum. Sometimes a sock or small item of clothing has got between the gap between the rubber door seal and the heating element. Sometimes a sock gets down between the door seal and the drum. There's a small gap, and when it's spinning, small items can get down there. They can also get themselves wrapped around the heating element, and this is why you want to look up. After you've taken the sump hose off, have a look up with a torch to make sure there's nothing in the drum. If there is something in the sump hose, that's your problem. Now, other problems that can occur is on the exiting side of the pump. This is from the waste hose to where you're draining. Now, most people have a washing machine connected to a stanchion pipe, but some people have the washing machine waste hose connected to a sink unit. And these sink units, especially, you know, I'm looking at the day, and what is it at the moment? We're Tuesday. You may have had a Sunday lunch and you may have poured fat down the sink. And this, every engineer will tell you this is quite a common problem. What actually happens is this fat floats on top of the water and can block up the actual connection point to the washing machine tube that is connected to the sink unit, and basically it will only need cleaning out. That's two of the most common problems. You can also bench test your pump as well. Take the pump off the machine and actually run it on a workbench with the correct voltage. They're normally on Beko 240 volt, but some of the newer machines now, like LG, Samsung, Daewoo, are starting to use DC pumps, so do make sure it's an AC pump before bench testing it. I hope that answers your question. Oslem, I think we got another Turkish name here. I recognise the sort of wording on this. I'm not even going to... Oslem Ozer. I'm going to get lynched when I go to Turkey in a few months for pronouncing these names wrong. My oven, BBCM13300XC, trips the circuit breaker when I turn it on. Could the fan oven... Yes, basically you're from Germany. My apologies. A lot of Turkish people do live in Germany, though. I'm still suspecting that's a Turkish name. Do let us know. Right, yes, basically just take the back off the machine, disconnect it from the electricity, take the back off. This will give you access to the fan oven element. With the electricity disconnected, take the wires off the fan oven element. Using a multimeter set onto continuity, just go across the element. If it's open circuit, that's your problem. It tripped your breaker as it was blowing. If you've still got a circuit, leave the two wires off, reconnect it up, put some insulation tape on the two wires, connect the cooker to the main supply, turn it on, set the timer to manual, make sure the thermostat is little red lights coming on, and if it doesn't trip the electricity, then you know that it's the element that's causing the problem. Hope that answers your question. I thoroughly enjoyed my time in Berlin, by the way. Great people, great country, and the hospitality was brilliant. Salih, I have a Belling D841ST. It only gets lukewarm and reach the correct cooking. It only gets lukewarm and not reach the correct cooking temperature. Okay, you haven't said which oven you're using. Let me just have a quick look at this model number. Just bear with me. Ooh, no images. So I'm just going to have to assume I can't see any images of that oven. I can see some parts for that model number, but I can't see any pictures of the oven itself. So let me just go through this. Where's the question again? Right. If your oven is using multiple elements to cook the food, in other words, you do not have a fan oven setting, or you do have a fan oven setting, but it may be using part of the grill element and the base element. Now, to cook the food, both of these elements are used, and then the fan motor blows the air around the oven. If one of the elements is not working, then it's either going to be cooking from the underside if the grill was faulty, or it's going to be cooking from the top side if the base element was faulty. Again, take the power from the cooker, disconnect it, take the back of the oven off, find the appropriate elements and do a continuity test on each of the elements. As I said earlier, you can also use Ohm's law reading to be able to ascertain if the elements are the correct wattage that they should be. I hope that answers your question. Next one. S, I'm from the UK if it helps. Thanks very much, but I think I answered the question on that one. Do resubmit any questions that you want more verification on. I'm having to chug through these as I go along. Layla, my model number is a Siemens HBN. Okay. Now you've got to remember I'm new to these streams, so I will have to go hunting for your previous comment once I found the model number. So you've got... After... Let me just... I need a little bit of clarification here. Just bear with me. Layla, when you go to your identification label on Bosch, Neff and Siemens cookers, if you or washing machines, your model number, which is HB11320GB, will have a / followed by 2 numbers. I would be grateful if you could go and get it and put it in the chat for me. I thought I recognised all the accents on the name. Oslem, thanks very much for clarifying. Looking forward to going to Turkey. The cuisine there is second to none. I would actually say some of the best cuisines I've ever eaten are in Lebanon, Paris in the old days, and Turkey. Three best cuisines in the world in my opinion, but only my opinion. And if I ever go back to Portugal, I'm going to get lynched because I've not said Portugal as well. But the Spanish food, the Portuguese food, you know, in certain areas they have got some fantastic food. Right, C-Y-K-O-L. I have no idea how to... Kaikol? Anyway, I'm an appliance technician from Belgium. I will ask if you have done a test to know if the heat pump tumble dryers consume really less energy than a condenser tumble dryer. Yes, 100%. They use most probably on a full cycle at least a third of the energy that a vented tumble dryer or condenser tumble dryer uses. I would say on an hour's cycle on a condenser tumble dryer that had a 2.5 kilowatt element, you will most probably use 2 kilowatts of power, where a heat pump tumble dryer running for the same amount of time would only use somewhere in the region of 5 to 600 watts, but it will take twice as long to dry the clothes. Now, a lot of remarks have come up in this video that I posted about heat pump tumble dryers, and you know, when heat pump technology is working great and the machines are fully serviced and maintained correctly, heat pump tumble dryers are good. But when you consider a vented tumble dryer costs £200 in the UK and a reasonable make heat pump tumble dryer in the UK is going to cost a minimum of £600, it's going to take you quite a while to get your money back, at least 2 to 2.5 years, using it on a normal family cycle. But if the machine only lasts 5 years, I can't see the beneficial savings. I'm sorry. I've been in this industry for, Jesus, showing my age, over 40 years now. And, you know, they're just not built to last yet. You know, you only have to read the comments in the video. And I got hit with 2,500 comments in 24 hours on that video. I couldn't answer them all, but I was scanning through. And one thing I did notice, and this will be another video, I'm not sure if certain manufacturers target videos that go live on YouTube or videos that are done that are detrimental to their brand, and they have some cheap labour who put comments in from certain parts of the world about their brand saying positive things. I saw so many comments, and I'm not going to say any particular brand at the moment. I have got to wait for the proof that I'm checking on to come in. But when it does come in, I think these manufacturers are going to be in for a bit of a shock, because I will not hesitate to post it. Anyway, that's another question. So, where are we? I think I'm nearly up to date. 01, thank you very much, Layla. So let's go back to that. Put /01. Let me just go to bring up, where can I get the technical data on this? Just bear with me while I'm looking. Okay, let's have a look at your oven. So, I'm just looking, bear with me 1 second. I can't pull these things up instantaneous. don't know if it's because I'm in Africa that my normal links are not popping up correctly. Just bear with me. Okay, I think I found it. Let me just double check. One 1320 GB01. Yes, I have found it. And have they got? Yes, they have. It might be worth me sharing the screen on this one, although it's not my website. Let me go to that one. Okay, so here we have your oven, and let me just quickly go back to the question. Just bear with me, it was Layla, wasn't it? Layla. Electricity tripped while I was cooking over the weekend. I managed to reset the breaker and everything is okay. So you've got a mechanical thermostat, you've got a selector switch, and you've got a timer. First thing I would do is make sure, once you've reset the electricity, make sure the timer is set to manual. Then you've got, this will allow the power to go through to the selector switch and the thermostat. And let's have a look at what elements you've got in this cooker. Right, you've got a grill element, which is a dual circuit, and a base element, which is hidden under the cavity at the bottom of the cooker. I can't see a fan oven element yet, so just bear with me. It doesn't look like this oven has a fan oven element. So if it's tripped the electricity, I suspect either this part or this part is going to earth. Now, once you've got the cooker back up and running again, you will be able to put the oven on and find out if it's either still tripping the electricity and the electricity goes off again. This means that one of these elements is going to earth, and this means you need to ascertain which element is faulty. Now, the bottom element has only got two terminals, it's a single circuit element. Disconnect the cooker from the electricity supply, take the two wires off this element and make sure you put insulation tape on them. Reconnect the cooker to the power supply, making sure the wires are safe. Turn the oven on. If it basically starts to function, of course it won't be heating correctly. That's because the element is disconnected, but it may be using the top inner or outer part of the element for the other part. So one of these two elements is faulty, and then just, if it doesn't trip the electricity with this one disconnected, you can actually assume that this element is faulty. If it still trips the electricity, connect this element back up, then disconnect the four wires off this element, making sure that you take a picture to know where they go back on. Sometimes there's multiple wires the same color, so you may need to put some tape on this element, on the individual wires, just so you know which one they came off. And of course, if you disconnect this element and it doesn't trip the electricity, then this one's your fault. I hope that answers the question for you. Where am I? Am I up to date? No, I see some more come in. James, it wears faster because it wears faster. Yes, very much so. Look, James, one of my arguments with heat pump tumble dryers, if I'm asking the question correctly here, answering the question correctly, heat pump tumble dryers, if a machine has to run for 2.5 times longer, don't you think the motor bearings, the drum bearings, the felt seals, the pads are going to wear out quicker over a period of time? If a tumble dryer that is a vented tumble dryer does 300 loads per year, it is running for approximately 300 to 400 hours per year. The vented tumble dryer will only wear the bearings out at that rate. But the heat pump tumble dryer is going to run on the same amount of clothing per year, somewhere in the region of 700 hours, which of course is obvious. It's going to wear out more. The more mileage you do on the car, the more you wear the tyres out. Anyway, let me go back off this because I think I was getting lots of mirror images coming up. So let me come back to the main screen and go back to the questions. Right, okay, that's done, James. Yeah. Cancer Crab, thank you very much for the compliment. Can you tell me where to buy parts for commercial washer dryer? Thank you very much. Well, there's a couple of companies in the UK that are very good. I actually bought some commercial washing machines and it was up north. I haven't got the name of the company to hand, but I was really impressed when I went into their workshops. It was up near Manchester direction, but it does depend on what make of machine that you have. By all means, if you send the make that you're looking for parts via the website, I will have a look and see what I can find for you and point you in the right direction. I don't actually sell commercial parts at the moment. I think you can only concentrate on one thing. My job nowadays is making videos for you lot with regards trying to help out in repairing machines, and also I'm doing more on the exposing the industry for what it is, because it needs to be exposed. We can't keep expecting general public to go out and buy a new machine every 4 or 5 years. It's ludicrous. Our parents used to buy washing machines, cookers that would last 25 to 30 years. I've still got a friend in Chepstow. Pauline asked me to have a look at her fridge going back 12 months ago. It was a 50-year-old fridge and it was still working. I mean, you know, that's the quality that we need. Yes, we need to pay more for appliances that last that long, but we can't keep producing this rubbish. Okay, James Whitmore. Although no error code shows, I found the last stored code to be E73. Now, you've already asked a question. You've got an AG, sorry. Top of my head, I don't know what error code 73, and my login process to gain the information for you on error code 73 is going to take me a lot longer than I'm willing to spend on a live show. So, James, if you go through to the contact us page on the website, put down your model number, and also put that you've got error code 73 coming up on the system, you may be in luck, because AEG, Zanussi and Electrolux are another company that really does support the trade and the general public. And I keep emphasizing this, although sometimes they might not produce the best machines in the world, they do try to supply the technical data to the general public and tradesmen, where the likes of LG, Samsung, Hotpoint, Indesit, hopefully that's going to change with Beko taking them over, Miele, are not supplying the technical data which is needed to assist people in repairing their machines. They think they have the divine right to force general public into having their engineers, and you know, everyone's got to make a living, but when you consider to call an AEG technician out for your machine would cost you in excess of £100 call out. If you could get a local engineer to come out, it's going to cost you, you know, £50, £60. There are a lot of people who are not in the financial circumstances that want to have a go at repairing their machines, and YouTube is a world of knowledge. There are so many videos out there to assist people nowadays. I'm a small-time videoer. I've been a domestic appliance engineer for 40, 50 years. I've made maybe coming up to somewhere in the region of 800 videos. every problem, error code 73, if you put that into YouTube today and just error code and do it with AG, Electrolux, Zanussi, they're pretty much the same machines, manufactured by the same company. I imagine that error code 73, there is a few videos out there that may point you in the right direction. But that doesn't answer your question, James. So what I was saying, go through to the website, put all the details in, and I promise you within the next 2 to 3 days I will obtain you the wiring diagram at least, or maybe some other information with regards workshop manual that will assist you, and I'll guide you in the right direction once I know what the error code is. And you'll have to excuse my hands going all over the place. When the wind dies, the flies are everywhere, mate. Anything that's got water attached to it, the flies want to know, and at the moment they want to know me. Okay, hope that answers your question, James. Right, Charles, very helpful videos on your YouTube channel. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Charles again, could you tell me where I can find the codes for Bosch 500 series? Good luck to you. Bosch do not disclose the information. Occasionally I have been able to contact an engineer or two that are friends of mine who have given me the technical data, but with stern warnings from them that I'm not allowed to use it for any promotional purposes, because Bosch is a horrid company when it comes to supplying general public the right information. I mean, why they have to keep workshop manuals which cost, you know, they are made for their engineers, why they don't try to assist general public in repairing machines, I have no idea. So even with your model number, I cannot get you the technical information on all the error codes. But let me just read the rest of this. You only know the code for the child lock. Yeah, CL error code. Standard. I'm looking for the codes for the reset and the electronics. I don't have the information. I'm sorry, Charles. If I had it, I'd be the first person to give it you, mate. It's a disgrace. I'm sorry. It's, you know, more people need to boycott companies that are not supplying the information to the general public nowadays, and they need to support the companies even if the quality is not quite as good. You should be supporting companies that are trying to do some good in the world by supplying at least the wiring diagram and maybe a workshop manual or the technical error codes. AG, Electrolux, Zanussi, I take my hat off. Beko and all the brands that Beko own. Apart from Hotpoint and Indesit, which they've only just taken over, hopefully that they'll go forward in the future. Hoover, Haier, I am able to get some limited information, but other companies, I don't get the information, I'm sorry. Let me just read all the other stuff you sent through, Charles. I'm looking for the codes for reset, electronic sensor. Yeah, there's usually a test procedure for getting into them. You're going to have a hunt round on YouTube and the internet. Someone may have made a video. Whenever I get the reset diagnostic sequence or to go into diagnostic mode, as soon as I've done some videos on Bosch and other bits and pieces in the past, but of course I don't have it for every machine, so I can only do it when I obtain the information. But if I do get any 500 series and the technical information, or if any nice engineers have got a bee in their bonnet would like to send me the test procedures when I'm in the workshop, I would be glad to make a video for you. Okay, sorry I can't help there, Charles. 991, I have a Beko WMB 71543 washing machine, bra wire stuck in the back of the drum. Can you see the solutions to take off the paddles? Right, okay, I've done many of these, and it's an interesting game that you have to play. Let me just... WMB, yeah, I know which one I'm talking about. Right, it's not a washer dryer, it's a standard washer. So you've got two ways to attack this. I can't remember if the heating element is on the front of the machine or the back of the machine. Anyway, first thing you can do is either take the back cover off the machine. I don't think the element's at the back. I think the element's at the front. So you're going to have to take the front panel off the machine. I have got videos on Beko machines on how to dismantle them. Once you've got the front of the machine off, you're then going to be able to access the heating element, and you're also going to be able to access two pipes that connect to the machine, which may assist you. Now, by taking the element out, you're going to be able to get a coat hanger all the way down the bottom of the drum, and you might be lucky enough, as you rotate the drum by hand, we've got a mad scooter guy going over the hills, as you rotate the drum by hand and shining a torch in there, you may get a sight of the bra wire. Now, sand again, should have done this indoors. So take the heating element out, get a coat hanger, straighten it out, put a little bit of a hook on there so you can actually grab something. Go down in between the drum, you may be able to catch it this way. If you can't access it from that angle, your WMB series I think is a sealed drum, so you can't even split the drum on the machine, which is another reason for built-in obsolescence. A simple thing like a bra wire, if it was a splittable drum, you'd be able to split the drum, undo the shaft nut on the bearings, and then slide the whole drum out, and you'd have easy access to clean the whole thing up. But because they weld the drum shut, you're unable to do this. So the other two ways you can access the drum is you can access the drum via the sump hose, but that's only going to give you access from the bottom. It is possible that you may be able to see something through the soap dispenser hose. That's another way, but I really think the heating element is your best chance. There's no perforation holes, if I remember the Beko WM, at the back of the drum, so the only hope you've got is some sort of device to get in there while you rotate the drum by hand. Once you can actually see it, you'll be able to devise maybe something like a coat hanger to hook onto it and pull it out. Hope that helps you. Good luck. And I'm sorry, even Beko, who I praise on occasions, are building sealed drums. The whole industry must have sat round a Christmas table one year and decided, oh, how can we rip general public off anymore? I know, let's weld all the drums shut. Anyway, my rant is over. I hope that helps you. No problem at all. I'm glad I could help. Martha L. Have you seen many solar water heating systems? Out here, the hotels have a few. How well they're maintained is a question I would like to have a look at, because one of the big problems that a lot of solar systems have is they are not maintained properly. They're brilliant technology. They work really, really well. In a place like this, I'd be frightened of scolding people the amount of heat that they would make. I've been through many campsites in Europe that uses solar water for supplying showers to the campers and everything. Brilliant systems. I've got a friend in hot solar water. Burkay, put the link into, what's his name? Douglas's website, Hot Solar Water. They sell solar systems. But in Africa here, I haven't seen any shops selling them or warehouses selling them. Local people do not heat water that way. They don't have the money to buy things. They haven't even got the money to buy twin tub washing machines. And this washing machine, once I finish stripping it down, I'm going to be donating it to somewhere. Some family somewhere that I think deserves a little bit of a head start. and they'd appreciate a washing machine. The best way of heating water in the desert, I'm sorry to say, and I haven't got it to hand. Yes, I have. Bear with me. Let me just flick cameras and stick that on normalized tracking. Have I got it here? Yeah. That's the best way. Plonk it in the sun, leave it 3 hours. Trust me, it'll be 50-degree water. That's how I'm heating the water for this twin tub, for the simple reason there is no hot water around here. So I get water from down, the owner of this area has allowed me to park here for the whole week. He runs a campsite called Camp Jamil, but his house is about 300, 400 meters down the road, and we have to carry water up for the twin tub. We're in an oasis place at the moment, so water is plentiful, but of course if you went a few miles out that way, you won't see a drop of water for the next 1,000 miles. But solar water technology is brilliant. I hope that helps you. Ethan99, what's the most common issue you have come across in household appliances? You'll need to be a bit more specific. I am very disappointed with a lot of the industry today. I think there is too much emphasis on consumption by companies instead of, you know, you've got to remember that a lot of companies have built their reputation over the years by building quality products. And then about 15 years ago, it all started to go wrong. And where it went wrong was companies were being run by accountants, and accountants decided it was far cheaper to buy up competitors than to continue making good quality product. So if we look at washing machines, let's just take washing machines as general. Washing machines now, there are only maybe 6 or 7 major brands on the market today. They manufacture all the multiple brands that you see in the superstores. For example, Hotpoint, Indesit, Creeder, Jackson, Whirlpool, and now Beko has bought the whole lot of them. I'll tell you the breakdown story of this to start with. Hotpoint was a great British manufacturer back in the 70s and 80s, produced fantastic machines with their Hotpoint 18 series, their Hotpoint 95 series. Between Hotpoint and Hoover, they most probably controlled 50 to 60% of the UK marketplace when it came to machines. Then Indesit wanted to come into the UK marketplace, and this is when machines went from being a well-built machine to slightly less well-built. And Indesit started trying to compete in the UK market. Then they decided, rather than just competing, let's acquire Hotpoint. So they acquired Hotpoint, they acquired Creeder, they acquired Jackson, English Electric was another one. So when you went into the superstore, the average person would say, I'm not buying that machine. I had one of them last time, it only lasted 5 years. I'm going to buy another make. But they go and buy this make, and the machine is from the same manufacturer. It's conning the general public. That's washing machines. And, you know, Miele actually is one of the few companies still on the market today which is family run. I had the privilege, many years ago, of meeting Mr. Miele. I think it was in Cologne in Germany at one of the trade shows, and that's a bug I don't want to get anywhere near. I hope he goes up that way. The Hoover has now been taken over by Haier. Zanussi is owned by Electrolux, who also own AEG. Bosch, Neff, Siemens, as I've said, they're owned by many individual manufacturers. Siemens owns all the Bosch group, basically. All the manufacturers, you know, there's only 6 out there. LG, Samsung, you know, they are Middle East Far East machines. You know, the LG stuff I like, you know, reasonably. It's just a crying shame that they don't supply the technical information. Beko is a great company. They supply not only the wiring diagrams, the technical information, but, you know, they are acquiring all the other brands. And it's cheaper for manufacturers to acquire the brands than it is to continue building quality. When I do the strip down video on this twin tub that I've got here, if you saw the build quality on this, it's ridiculous, but it's $100. So what can you say? I hope that answers your question. How do you determine whether an appliance is worth repairing or replacing? Well, we're doing something now which is selling second-hand parts, and this is to give general public a fighting chance of, there are certain components, you know, for example, if you've got a Bosch washing machine and your child has gone into the kitchen and thought, I'll have a whale of a time swinging on this door that was left open, and suddenly breaks the hinges, door goes on the floor, cracks the door glass, that door's going to cost you $150 from complete door assembly from Bosch. If it was a hot point machine, it would still cost you a new door glass, including the trim. It's going to cost you, with a hinge, it's going to cost you $70–80. So by selling certain components secondhand, we're able to prolong the lifespan. I think too many people are lazy when it comes to just buying new machines because they have money. It is our responsibility to keep machines going, even if it's not that easy for us. If you go on eBay, on Facebook Marketplace and other things in the UK, you can find a transplant machine where it may have had a problem with the drum bearings collapsing, but it's got good electronic panel. Now your machine might have blown up because the circuit board has failed. This way you can acquire a machine for £20–30 and transplant that circuit board, if it's from the same model, onto your machine. You've got to remember, Britain consumes 3.5 million washing machines per year. There are thousands of them out there. We need to be recycling more, but that's my opinion. When it comes to new parts, are you going to repair a Bosch? If you come from a family with money and you just call the engineer, you're not really caring anyway. You can afford to have it repaired. Whether it's worthwhile or not, the technician will tell you. If you're repairing it yourself, there are certain, it depends on the cost of the parts, and it depends on the time it takes to repair it, because your time's worth money. So are you going to swap a drum out that's going to take you, as an amateur, 4 to 5 hours to do, and do correctly, where an engineer might do it in an hour? Are you willing to go to the point of that amount of time? If the costs of the components are affordable, yes, I would have a go at repairing it. And there are still some makes out there that are worth repairing. It just depends on what the problem is. If it's a heating element, the washing machine's not heating, normally heating elements are only 20–30 quid. If it's a main motor for an Indesit, it's going to be over £100. And if it was a Miele, it'll be £400. A Bosch would be £300. Then it's not affordable. But if you can find a second-hand one, then it's worthwhile. So there needs to be more emphasis on repairability, and I think the governing bodies who control the industry, as I said earlier, are being greenwashed by the industry, coming out with all these auto-dosing systems, eco-washes that are using less water and not even getting the clothes as clean as they should be, using less energy. but the machine's going on the scrap pile after 5 years. I can't see the benefits of things like that myself, but that's my opinion and I'm entitled to it. I hope that answers your question. Right, I've been going now, I don't know how long I've been going. Let me just look at the time. Yeah, an hour and a half. It's beer o'clock, I think. That sun is getting very close to going over that yard arm. I will be doing a lot more of these streams in future. I hope it all came out okay. It looks like it has done because I've answered lots of questions. Oh, the guy heard me. It's a little early, but what the hell. Yeah, so coming off washing machines now. Where am I going next? Well, I've been invited up to the solar array at Quasata, which is the biggest solar array in northern Africa. There's even talk that it might be able to supply Europe power. Our problem with it being able to supply Europe power is cabling systems. It's just whether it's beneficial to put the way we transport electricity at the moment. It's going to be a great video, trust me. And this twin tub one will be a good video as well. So anyway, I've got 2 more months in Morocco. I've got some invites to go up to Casablanca. I'm really wanting to go to the cooker manufacturers here. I've seen some good ovens over here, believe it or not, and built very well. They're totally different style of oven. And then I'm going to be heading up to Europe again and then off to Italy. I'm going to be calling in at Gottak on the way up, spending a couple of days at Daniel's factory. I want to do some more tests on certain equipment. And then it's across to Italy for a couple of months. And then this old girl is due a little bit of work. So what I'm going to do is drive back to the UK, spend a month getting her up to the spec I want to get to. And then I'm heading down to Turkey. And we'll be having a look at the Turkish industry. And the reason I'm going down there, I'll be going to Azerbaijan as well, and possibly Jordan. There's a couple of places I want to see there, and I think I've got no problems of traveling there. I've got to spend some time making more videos for you with regards to machines that can be repaired. And I'm just continuing the busman's holiday, and the technology that Starlink has, let's face it, not everyone in the world loves these multinational businessmen, but I have to say I am highly, highly impressed with Starlink for it to be working, allowing me to answer customers' questions, emails, and many other things, doing this live stream. Technology is brilliant when it's used correctly, and Starlink is a really worthwhile. A little bit expensive for British. It really does annoy me that I have to pay £80 a month when the old system that I gave to a friend of mine in Portugal, he only has to pay £34 a month. So it's the same equipment, same system, but same satellites you're getting the data off. But Elon charges the English people £80 and charges the Portuguese people £34. To me, that's wrong, but hey, maybe it's because of the amount of people connecting in the UK, and let's face it, I'm the only one sucking off his satellites at the moment down here. I doubt if there's another person for 50 miles that's got Starlink around me. Anyway, I do hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks very much for all of you jumping in. I'm going to have a beer and get myself some dinner, and I'll post on the YouTube page when I'm doing the next stream, but it will be from a different location. I'm going to be leaving here in a couple of days and heading up to the mountains, as I said. Thanks very much for joining us. Good luck with all your repairs. Thanks for watching. Found it.